Yo, what does? Welcome back to Reviews with Jake. I just got done watching Till Death. Till Death is a story about a married woman played by Megan Fox who goes on an anniversary trip to a lake house with her distant husband. Sounds pretty romantic, right? Well, that's until he decides to handcuff himself to her arm and then commit suicide. Now the woman is forced to not only escape the literally messy situation that she has found herself in, but also evade some people that are trying to break into the house. This is what I get for recording on the 3rd of July. I was put onto this movie incredibly late, like earlier today late. Up until today, I had down for this week to review The Forever Purge, which I was frankly desperate to get out of. Why? Because I didn't want to get smacked in the face by politics for an hour and a half. But upon learning about this movie earlier today, it got the boot very easily because I love small-scale films like this. Buried, Gerald's Game, Panic Room, all these movies that make a very small, tight, intimate space feel very fresh and compelling. I enjoy this type of movie in particular because selfishly, these are the type of movies that I typically make. Small-scale, tiny cast, few locations, I mean, damn, I'm not swimming in money here, folks, or time. Of all of the aspects of production, I definitely hate producing the most because coordinating all these moving parts, sounds exhausting. So I love watching movies like this that make me rethink and recalibrate the way that I approach movies. It kind of rejuvenates me after watching them. Because I'm certainly not walking out of a Marvel movie saying, hey, you know what? I can do that. You just don't get these small scale movies anymore. Everything needs to be so grand, large, and epic. So the pros for this movie start with the direction. This movie is helmed very, very well. The suspense is well orchestrated. The action hits when it needs to. I mean, the film just looked and sounded great. The upper shelf cinematography found creative ways to make the small space feel very refreshed. You return to the same spaces over and over, but they find interesting creative ways to capture the shots from so that you don't really feel like you're watching the same room from the same angle. It never really feels that stagnant. This is an incredibly difficult thing to do when you're shooting in a small space, to get creative to make it not feel like the same thing over and over and over. The lighting and color palette definitely helped in this case. It was very well lit and used color temperatures very strategically. When the husband's still alive before stuff hits the fan, the tones are very warm, inviting, full of life because there's candles all over the place. But then the next morning hits with a dose of death, the candles go out and things get substantially cooler. I feel like I've been getting spoiled this year with really good looking films, and frankly, I am super into it. Even if the film is whack as hell, at least if it's good looking, at least there's something to chew on. One thing that was not whack as hell about this movie was the core premise of the film. It's a twisted, nightmarish scenario that really piqued my interest. Right when I heard what the film was about, I was immediately like, okay, you have my attention. I mentioned Gerald's Game before, and this movie's gonna draw a lot of parallels to that because they are eerily similar, but it does enough to really distinguish itself from that film. However, while the film does enough to distinguish itself from Gerald's Game, I feel like it focuses on all the wrong things, at least all the least interesting things that really set it apart from that film. I feel like it leaned too heavily on the wrong distinguishing factors opposed to the ones that really could have taken it to the next level. Obviously, I'm not gonna dive too much deeper because I'm gonna avoid spoilers as always, but I feel like there were some plot lines about the film that just kind of felt like dead weight. I feel like if it would have dished some aspects of the plot to let the other aspects breathe, it really would have popped a lot more. I feel like this also would have helped the writing immensely because the dialogue felt really unnatural. This film is 90 minutes long and it has a lot of loaded topics to explore. You have Megan Fox's character, you have her relationship with her husband, past and present traumas, the goons trying to break into the house. There is a lot to unpack here, so the film constantly feels the need to dump a lot of dialogue and information on us to keep us up to speed, but it never really feels organic. It feels incredibly clunky, heavy-handed, and also really forced. There were a lot of things that were said, especially by Megan Fox, that maybe sounded really clever on paper, but when they're actually verbalized, it just doesn't sound right. Like no one talks like that. Finally, the film requires way too much suspension of disbelief, scenarios that are beyond logic and plausibility. It either hinges on way too many conveniences that keep the plot chugging along in a way that just doesn't feel believable, or Megan Fox just escapes precarious situations by becoming a freaking ninja, disappearing without making a peep or a whisper. When I see that kind of stuff in a movie, especially in a thriller, I no longer see myself in the shoes of the character because it feels like a work of fiction. All in all, the movie is fine. It could have been great, but had a few missteps that really got under my skin. But still probably beats seeing another damn Purge movie, am I right? I'm going to give Till Death a C+. Quick sidebar about one of the guys breaking into the house. Throughout the whole course of the film, I'm looking at the guy and I'm like, damn, that guy looks just like Davey from AFI. I was honestly so convinced that it was him that I looked it up on IMDb and I see his name is what? Jack Roth. Not Jake Roth, Jack Roth. Ain't that some Although, I'm not sure if he's a Roth or a Roth. That, my friends, is a turf war that's been waging for generations that you probably won't understand. But that's just me. What do you guys think? Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. And make sure to subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with new reviews coming real soon. Stay safe, thanks for checking in.